Hello everyone, welcome to the first video of the new academic year. We are thrilled to be running a normal week for the first time in about 18 months, and all our choirs are back and the congregation is back singing the hymns, and it's all very positive here at the moment. The purpose of this video is really to introduce you to our new colleague, and we're sitting here in the Lady Chapel at Gloucester Cathedral, and we're about 8 feet away from the musicians' chapel, or one of the musicians' chapels. The one over there, which I think I've introduced to you before, is the one where all the former organists of the cathedral are commemorated, or at least most of them. And we're sitting here with the newest recruit to that apostolic succession. And basically what we've done is, up until now, we've had organ scholars from way before I arrived on the scene. And the role of the organ scholar grew and grew and grew so much as we gradually invented more and more choirs, to the point where it's a full-time job. So we've upgraded the organ scholarship into a new role, which is called the Sub-Organist. And a few people online have wondered what that means. We have Adrian, as you know, as our great figurehead at the top of the department. He's the director of music. But his main job is to direct all the choirs, and that means that my main job is to play the organ. So I am the organist, and sub-organist means that James is the next one down, and so he is sub-organist. So that's a little explanation of what that name means. James, you've been with us, I don't know, is it 3 weeks now?
Yeah,
3 weeks, and he's played for, I don't know, more services than I have so far, I think. And yeah, it's 3 a week, isn't it, really? And
yeah.
it's, that's a normal standard week. And you run the Cathedral Middle Choir,
Yeah.
who are very a new choir, only been going a couple of years. And on the evidence of the first 3 rehearsals, there's much to be excited about with the middle choir, due to James's dynamism in front of them. And you also very kindly accompany the Cathedral Youth Choir, the Cathedral Junior Choir for Near, and you assist me and Near with the 2 outreach projects, which you haven't had to do yet, but soon, the Teenage Voices Project and the Junior Voices Project. So there's plenty for you to do, and that's why we felt we needed to upgrade the role and pay them properly for all the hard work that you do. So we're delighted that James has joined us, and where did it all start for you, James? Where are you from? Who did you first learn with, etc.?
So I come from Devon.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my parents are actually Australian, and they both lived in Australia until post-university.
Yeah.
So my mum got a job up in Durham, and then she moved. My dad stayed in Australia for a bit, and then they both moved to Durham, and then they gradually worked their way down the country until we got all the way down to Devon.
Durham to Devon.
And I came to Devon when I was 6 months old, and I've lived there ever since.
Ever since. So no hint of a Durham accent?
No.
No. Great. And you presumably started school, and did you learn the piano before the organ?
Yeah, so I learned the piano. My main instrument actually was the cello for a long time. I learned the piano on the side, but I was really a cellist all the way until late secondary school. And so what I was really interested in was orchestras and like chamber music. And I was never a chorister either, so I had some understanding of like the choral tradition, but my main area was like all the cello stuff.
That's why you and I are quite similar, I think, because
Yeah.
I was never a chorister either, and I think you and I, all the music that we've absorbed as young children has been orchestral music rather than choral music, which is interesting. So no, that's a nice connection to have. And you started learning the organ
pretty much at the end of primary school. So
about last year.
Like 6 minutes ago. I think. My new piano teacher was one of those musicians who could play piano, play organ, play harpsichord. He was a singer, conductor, composer. So one of those sort of everyman. And we were like, I'd sort of taken a slight interest in the organ, but I'd never played one before. And so moving to him, we decided to start organ lessons, and then that's where it began.
And was it Crediton?
That's where I lived. I actually practiced mostly in the church down the road in a local village called Newton St Sire's, as well as sort of some of the local parish villages. I only actually started playing at Crediton relatively recently in the last few years because it's a really big church, and so they've got a full-time director of music and assistant organist. So I'm now on as like an occasional deputy organist, but before that it was sort of a more informal, only occasionally sort of.
And wonderful organ to play.
Yeah, and it sort of introduced. That's where I learned most of the choral repertoire, most of the choral tradition. Is from because I sang in the church choir.
Great. So that was where it all started, and you obviously know Archdeacon Hilary very well from when you were a
primary school. Yeah, she was my primary school teacher. Yeah,
so that's a happy coincidence as well. So it's all the stars have lined up, and you found your way here. After learning the organ and going to school, presumably you went to university. Did you did some gap year organ scholarships?
So in my last year of school, I got a place at Ely Cathedral, sort of in conjunction with my last year of sixth form, to be the organ scholar there. So it was like, it's a sixth form organ scholarship, but I just did the last year of it. And then I did a gap year at Manchester Cathedral, and then I moved on to university.
Right. So at Ely you were presumably with Paul Trept?
Yes, it was Paul Trept, yes.
He lives up the road now.
Yes.
He's retired. They all gravitate towards Gloucester once they retire.
Yeah.
And so you did Ely and then Manchester, obviously, with Chris Stokes?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you went to Cambridge?
Yes.
And which college were you
So I was at Girton College, which it's a really nice college. It has a reputation for being really far away, but that actually makes it really nice in a way because there's no tourists around. It's a really lovely set of buildings with a lot of green space around it, so it was actually a really nice space.
Quite chilled out.
Yes.
And an really interesting chapel organ at Girton.
Yes.
So I did a recital in Girton Chapel in about 2009, I think it was. And it's the smallest four-manual organ I think I've ever played. It's about 3 stops per manual or something like that.
It's one of the weirdest yet best designed instruments I've ever met.
And then that was presumably you stayed at Girton through your undergraduate.
Yeah, so 3 years.
And then
I did a master's, but I moved to Emmanuel College. So that was last year, and that was just a 1 year post.
Just 1 year. Right.
But I was also organ scholar there. I was offered the organ scholarship, even though I was a graduate student. So I was able to keep going with organ playing there.
Fantastic. I mean, this is the difference between what James's role is now and what the organ scholarship role was before James, is that with the organ scholars, they were mostly, apart from last year's, gap year students who were fresh out of school, and they would come here for a year and not really having many skills, talented, but not having sort of many service playing skills, etc. And the difference is now that James has done all that. He did some 2, 3, 4 organ scholarships technically, I suppose.
Technically,
over that period, and now he's with us, and you've been given a bit of a baptism of fire with being our librarian as well. That's we've had to tweak that a bit because the system doesn't quite work yet, but we all get there. And but it's great to have you, and you've experienced what a madhouse the music department office is. Which is important. If you can survive that, you can survive anything. What is it about being a cathedral organist that most appeals to you? What is it that makes you get up in the morning to come to work?
Well, my favourite part is actually accompanying the cathedral choirs, because for a lot of organists I know there's a lot of solo repertoire and they enjoy sort of the solo music, but for me it's particularly like playing with other musicians and with other people, and I sort of love the fact that as an organ player you do have an integral role as part of the group, but you also get to work with other people. So it sort of takes the chamber music that I love from my cello playing and puts it into a slightly different yet sort of equally rewarding context.
So you like the back and forth between, not literally back and forth, but like you are responding to what they're doing, and they're responding to what you're doing, etc. And you like that.
Yeah.
And what music really gets you going? I mean, do you consider yourself early music specialist, or are you a big romantic like I am, or do you enjoy learning contemporary works, new pieces?
I think my favourite period is sort of the contemporary period, because that's sort of the most exciting period of seeing what people are doing now and sort of what new stuff is coming out. I do like sort of all periods. I have done study in early music and in romantic music, but I think on balance, sort of, it's music that's contemporary yet sort of accessible to congregations. So sort of high quality yet not just really dissonant and sort of unaccessible, but stuff that people can enjoy listening to. And
that's a real art, isn't it, as a composer, to make something that is clearly pushing boundaries, but is still accessible and can be done without too much stress. And that is interesting to listen to. Great. Well, look, there's a little snapshot into our new colleague James, and James is with us for 2 academic years, and we'll see what he goes on to do afterwards when we get to that point. But in the meantime, we're going to enjoy having him here with us, and we are very much enjoying your playing, and I'm really thrilled that you've hit the ground running with the middle choir as well, and we look forward to hearing more from you as a director and an organist over the next 20 months or so, however long it is. Thank you very much.